In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to start your new project the right way, and you can use this as a template so that you don't have to waste your time. Before we get started, make sure to like this video, subscribe, comment down below if you have any questions or if you have anything you'd like to say. But now, let's get started. First thing to do is create the project. So I'm going to open and I'm going to write npx create react app at latest, and I'm going to call it template and press on enter. And I'm going to go ahead and open that project with VS Code by writing code and then template. Now that VS Code is open, I'm going to remove all the unnecessary files. So in source, I'm going to remove these last three files and then the app.test.js. Here I'm going to remove the robots.txt and then both of these React PNGs. Next thing I'm going to do is go to app.js and then remove all of this and then just return an empty div. Then I'm going to remove this import because we don't have that file anymore. And then in the index.js, I'm going to remove this and then also the import for that. And then I'm also going to remove react.strict mode because we don't actually need it. So I'm going to put the app in there, and then I'm going to keep the CSS files as they are because they're both a good starting point. Next thing I'm going to do is go to bootstrap.com and then add it to the project. So I'm going to copy this link over here for the CSS, go to index.html and then paste it down here. Next thing I'm going to do is copy both of the JavaScript links and then paste them at the very bottom under the root and then delete all of the unnecessary comments. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Next thing I'm going to do is set the title to React template and then remove the non-script. For the folder structure, I'm going to go to source and then make a components folder. Inside of that, I'm going to have a navbar folder with a navbar.jsx file where I'm going to have a navbar function that returns the navbar. So I'm going to fix the spacing and I'm going to remove the stuff where I get errors and the ones that are not really necessary. So I'm not going to need the form, so I can remove that and everything should look good. And now I can export everything at the very bottom, so export default navbar. Now in the components folder, I'm going to make an index.jsx file where I'm going to be able to import all of these styles instead of going to navbar, and so on. So here I'm going to import the navbar from navbar, and then I'm going to also export it, so navbar, just like that. And now if we go to app.js and then import navbar from components, and so now if we put navbar inside of here, so navbar, and then open the console and write npm start, we're going to see the navbar at the very top and the drop downs and everything else works. Next thing to do is go to colorhunt.co and then find a color palette that you like. So I'm going to go to all year and then scroll down until I find one that I like. So I'm actually going to use this very top one because I don't want to spend too much time on that. So let's see if we can sub all of these colors in and see if it's going to look nice. So this is going to be the secondary color. This is going to be the primary color, and then also this one is going to be the accent color, which I think should look nice. But now if we go to dark theme, this is what it's going to look like. So I'm going to actually change this a little bit and see if I can end up with something nicer. So all I did is just change the text color here, and I think this is what I'm going to use, so I'm just going to actually copy this. But you can just go to randomize here and then find one that you like in here if you don't want to go on color palette. But I'm going to go back to the one I just made and start with the text color. So we're going to want to go back to our source here and make a new file called color.css. Here we're going to start by selecting the body and then setting a few variables. So the first one is going to be text color, and that's going to be this color. Next one is going to be the background color. So background color, and that's going to be this color. Next we're going to have the primary color. So primary color. And then we're going to have the secondary color. And the last one is going to be the accent, so let's go ahead and use that one. So accent, paste that in here. And this is going to be the dark themed option. So now if we switch this to light theme, I'm going to change this a little bit to make it look a bit nicer. And then I'm going to sub that in as a light theme, and I'm going to show you how to do that in a second. So I just changed the background here, and I'm just going to stick to this because I don't want to spend too much time on that. So what we're actually going to do here is add an attribute called data theme. And if that's set to dark, then we're going to be setting all the variables to be set to this color. Else we're going to do this. So if we don't have anything or it's light, then we're going to actually just copy this, paste it in here, and then change this a bit. So this is going to be the text color now. This will be the background color. And so now that we actually have all of this, we can set the theme of your website depending on the user's preference. So if it's set to dark, then we can set it to dark. But then if it's set to light, then we can set that to light. So we're going to use a media query that's called prefers color scheme. And we're going to start with light. And what we're going to do now is pretty much just paste this inside of here. Now I'm going to copy and paste this under, change this to dark, and then paste this inside of there. And we can also remove this dark now. So if the user set the browser's theme to be light, then it's going to be light. But then if they set it to be dark, then it will be dark. So we actually have to do one more thing. Then it's going to be to select the root and then set the color scheme to be light dark. And now that we're done with our color themes, let's go back to the app.js and then import this color.css. And so if we go to index.css and then set the background color to be a variable background color and go back to here. So I'm going to write localhost 3000. We can see that now the background color is going to be dark. But if we go to inspect, hold Ctrl Shift P, here if we write prefers color scheme and set that to light, we can see that it's going to go back to light. So this is how this is going to work. But now we can actually set everything else. So we can set the text color to be var, and then text color. But now the way that it's going to work is I'm going to have a content here where the background color is going to be set to secondary color or primary color, really just depends. So I'm going to set var secondary and see what that looks like. So inside of the app.js, I'm going to make a main here just to see what it looks like with a content where we're going to have an h1 and a paragraph just to see what that looks like. So there it is. We can see that the content background color is going to be a bit different. And we can style this however you want to. But now if we actually go to the console here, we're going to have a lot of errors. So to fix that, we're going to go back here, press on Control F and change all classes to be class name. So class name, and let's go ahead and do that. So make sure not to overdo it. So these have to be class, and now the error should be gone. So there it is. We can remove the main because we can see that everything works. Now we can go back to the color.css and add a few classes here. So if you write color, that's going to be setting the color of the text to be var text color. We can do accent, which is going to do the exact same thing, but just for the accent color. So var accent. Next thing is going to be the background. So I'm just going to write bg. This is going to be background color, var background color, which we don't really need. So we can change that to secondary color. So secondary bg. So here we're going to set that to secondary color, and you could do the same thing for color. So let's do secondary color, which would be secondary color, but the main difference here is that here we're setting the background color and here we're doing the color, and then you pretty much just want to repeat that. So now if we go to the navbar.jsx here and then remove this, and then we do something like secondary BG, we can see that now the background of our navbar changes. But that's going to be pretty much it for the colors and themes. So I'm going to stop here and then move on to the next topic. The last two things to do is, depending on the website, you're going to want some sort of sections or something similar to that. So in the components here, I'm going to write sections, where here we're going to have a sections.jsx, and then we would have stuff like section 1, or let's just say home.jsx. And then in sections.jsx, what I'm going to do here is copy what I have in the app.js, paste it in the sections.jsx, change all of this real quick. So this is going to be sections. I'm going to move all of this, and then I'm going to import home and then use it here. And then you would have a few different sections, so let's say about and so on, but it's going to be a very quick example. So I'm just going to do this. In home, I'm going to paste this. We can remove this import because we're not actually doing anything. I'm going to change this to home, and then here we're going to have a section. I'm just going to have an h1 with home, and then let's just say paragraph with lorem 5. And now if we go back to index.js, we can also import sections. And then in the export, we're going to add sections in here. So if we go to app.js, we can write sections. We're going to write sections in here. Now if we go back, we're going to have home and then the text. So here what we're going to do is, we had something in here. So we had content, but we're going to change that to section. So here we're going to change this to section. and now it should look pretty much the same. But since this is going to be our secondary color, what we can do is we could probably change this to primary now. So primary color, or we can flip that around. Doesn't really matter. So I'm just going to keep it at secondary color. We're going to start by setting the width here to 90 view width. Height is going to be 100 view height. So just like this. So we're going to actually set this to primary just so that we can see it. It's obviously not going to look the best, but it's fine. So now we're going to set the margin to be 0 auto so that it would be nicely centered like that. And depending on what you want to do, you can keep it at 100, remove the background, and then add the content that you want. But let's just say you want to do something like a bit different. So something like a dashboard, it would be something like 90-90, and then it would be something close to this. Then we would add a border radius, which we can add right now. So border radius, 1 rem. I'm going to do 1 rem auto so that it looks something like this. I'm going to change this to be a little bit smaller. And then we can set the display property to grid. And then let's do align content, center, and then text align center, and let's just set the color to be background color so that we can see it. So you can customize however you want to, but you can have a bunch of different sections here and so on, but I'm just giving you a quick example of what you could do. So I'm going to actually remove this background color because it does not look good at all. So I'm going to change this to text color, and then we can go to sections, and then we can make something similar to the home.jsx. So we can do about.jsx. Here we're going to change this to about. And then in sections here, we can import about, put it under the home. And then this is what it's going to look like. And so hopefully by the end of this video, you've learned how you can start your new big project using the right tools and making it as clean as possible, or even just create a template so that you can use over and over again without having to waste any time. And this is where I'm going to be ending this video. So I really hope that you enjoyed it. And if you did, then make sure to leave a like, subscribe so you don't miss upcoming videos. Comment down below if you have any questions or if you have anything you'd like to say, and hopefully see you in the next video.